Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that will have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And as usual, I want to begin by saying good evening to all those who are joining us on, on television in Berbice, Region 5, Mahaika to West Berbice. Good evening. All of you who are joining us on television on the east coast of Berbice, also on the Quarantine Coast, from Kanji all the way to Crabwood Creek. Good evening to all of you who are joining us on television in those two regions, and also good evening to all of you who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Rob Street to Georgetown. And last but not least, good evening to all my friends and followers who are joining us right across the length and breadth of Guyana on Facebook Live from across the Caribbean, from North America, Europe, and even further afield. Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News. And as I'm looking at the live feed here, the greetings are coming in. Paul Diaram, Anil, Shobha Mahabir, Ramjit Ramlal, Victor, Rajkumar, Senti Sankar, Marde Virasamy, Navi Chan, Dharam Kilawan, Neetu Maharaj, Didi Narain, and all these people, Rajendra Mahes from New York, Bibi Ali, Vijay Lacha. Good evening to all you people, and please remember to share this program. Press the share button on your phone or on your computer device, whichever one you are using, to look at this program so that we can have the widest and largest possible audience. Bibi Khan, Omar Sharif, Monica Isaac, Roxanne Morian, Gayatri P. Singh, Bharat Dilraj, and so many persons, Shondell Bristol, Puran Roy Sahadio, and all of you people who are joining us on this live feed. Please press that share button on your phone. Please send me your comments, because I want this program to be as interactive as possible, and I want it to be viewed by the largest possible audience. That is going to be possible if you are to share the program, to invite all your friends and all your followers to join in the live feed, and also if you are to comment, so that we can keep this program as exciting, informative, educational, and as interactive as possible. Last week, as you know, I missed the program because I was representing the government of Guyana and the Parliament of Guyana at an IPU meeting in Bali, Indonesia. IPU stands for Inter-Parliamentary Union. That's one of the largest congregation of parliaments around the world. It's one of the oldest as well. It brings together parliaments from across the globe to discuss important issues facing the world. And the two important issues that this meeting of the IPU deliberated on were, one, climate change, and secondly, the war involving Russia and Ukraine. At the meeting, two important resolutions were passed. One, where each country, member state of the IPU committed to fight against climate change in our respective territories, in our respective parliaments, and through our respective governments. And also the second resolution that came out of the conference dealt with the condemnation of Russia's violence against the people of Ukraine. Those two motions were, as far as I'm aware, unanimously supported and passed. So it was a successful conference. It was a beautiful conference. We met a lot of people, and you had to travel a very, very far way. But I am back, and the program is back. And as usual, things are exciting in Guyana. The issue that is making the news is the appointment of Mr. Clifton Hickins as the Hickin, as the, well, that is the controversy. Is he the Commissioner of Police? Is he acting Commissioner of Police? Or is he performing the functions of the Commissioner of Police? Now, first of all, I wish to offer my heartiest congratulations on Mr. Clifton Hickin on his elevation to that post. He has served the police force with distinction. He has served the police force for many years. He has acted in very serious senior positions. He has headed several divisions across the country, and from all indications and from all the evidence available, he has acquitted himself with distinction and with a high degree of professionalism. This program salutes Mr. Hickin and congratulates him on his elevation. I see also that at least 3 former commissioners have not only extended congratulations to Mr. Hickin, but they have also supported his elevation. Former Commissioner of Police Leroy Brummel said that Mr. Hickin is qualified for the job. He's the most experienced and the most professionally exposed, I think. That's the terminology, I believe, that was used. That was followed by another former commissioner, Mr. Silal Prasad, who expressed similar sentiments, and then Mr. David Ramnarain, another person who functioned in that high office of Commissioner of Police, echoed similar sentiments. So, if we are to go on those 3 police commissioners or former police commissioners, Mr. Hickin is very well supported by his erstwhile colleagues. The PNC has indicated that they will file some sort of legal proceedings against the elevation of Mr. Hickin. Well, I don't know what they are filing. That's the first thing. The Constitution provides for the appointment of a Commissioner of Police. The appointment is made by His Excellency the President under the Constitution, and that appointment is to be made by the President after the President would have engaged in meaningful consultation with the leader of the opposition and the chairperson of the Police Service Commission, after the Police Service Commission chairman would have consulted with other members of the commission. So the President appoints, but the appointment is subject to meaningful consultation with the leader of the opposition and the chairperson of the Police Service Commission, and the chairperson of the Police Service Commission must also consult with the other members of the commission. Currently, you don't have a leader of the opposition, and you don't have a police service commission. It's no fault of the government or the president that there is no leader of the opposition. It's no fault of the government or the president that there is no police service commission, because the appointment of the police service commission comes through a process which again involves consultation with the leader of the opposition, and there is no leader of the opposition. Mr. Nigel Hoppy, who was acting in the office of the Commissioner of Police, his tenure has come to an end. The police force cannot be headless. The police commissioner is the person who has overall management and superintendence over the Guyana police force. He is responsible for the day-to-day management and superintendence of the Guyana police force. Therefore, you cannot have a police force without a person performing those functions. In that scenario, a president can't abdicate his responsibility and can't allow the police force that is responsible for the national and domestic security of the country to be without an administrative head. Therefore, the law will justify a president making an appointment even though those with whom he has to consult are not available for consultation. There is a doctrine in law called necessity. It is said that necessity knows no law, meaning that whenever there is a gap in the law, wherever there is a lacuna in the law, whenever there is an impossibility to comply with legal requirements, the doctrine of necessity is necessarily activated and allows for normalcy to resume or to continue until that which is absent, that which is not available, is rectified. So it is against that backdrop that the president is completely justified in proceeding to put someone to perform the functions of the Commissioner of Police. National security, public safety, and the need for there to be an administrative head of the Guyana police force would trump the need for procedural regularity. And the doctrine of necessity would justify a departure from what is required by the Constitution in this case, because there is an impossibility in securing constitutional compliance. The bodies or the agencies with whom the president is required to consult in this instance are non-existent. They are not available. it cannot be the law that the process will grind to a halt, or the country must go without a commissioner of police if a recalcitrant opposition cannot get its house in order and appoint a leader of the opposition. And that is the position. It is as simple as that. So, the other limb that I understand the PNC claims that they will file an action on is the choice made by the president. Let me make it abundantly clear that there are certain powers in the Constitution that are called prerogative powers. They owe their genesis and they owe their provenance to the royal prerogative, to the Queen's prerogative. And when we became independent, those prerogatives became part of the Constitution, and they reside in various places. Normally, they reside in the repertoire of powers that are resident in the head of state, because the Queen used to be the head of state of Guyana. When the president replaced the Queen, those plenitude or compendium of prerogative powers then became resident in the office of the president. And the Constitution regulates how those powers are to be exercised. The choice of who is to be the commissioner of police is one that lies exclusively with the president. In the exercise of that power, or in the exercise of that choice, he is to comply with a process. As I explained earlier, that process is to consult with the leader of the opposition, not agreement, consult with the leader of the opposition, and to consult with the chairperson of the Police Service Commission. That has nothing to do with the choice. The choice remains that of the president. Of course, the president may be guided or may guide himself by many factors. He may guide himself by seniority. He may guide himself by meritocracy. He may guide himself by any combination of factors. But that power of the president to appoint, that latitude of choice, cannot be circumscribed. The process of appointment is regulated, but the power to appoint and the power to choose is not circumscribed by our Constitution. It remains in the exercise of the deliberate judgment of the president. And the president, in the exercise of that power, has chosen Mr. Clifton Hicken. There is no court of law that can fault the president on his choice. That is the president's choice. No one can substitute their opinion or their choice for that of the president. And when I say no one, I mean even a judge. The president can choose whom he wishes. There may be consequences, political consequences, based upon the choice that he makes, but there are no legal consequences. The president has a power to choose, and he has exercised that power to choose. As a matter of antecedent, Mr. Granger did the same when Mr. Leslie James was appointed Commissioner of Police. Based upon my recollection, Mr. James was not the most senior officer. In fact, it was argued at the time that there were about 3 or 4 officers who were more experienced than Mr. James. But Mr. James was chosen by President Granger, as President Granger was entitled to do. There is no rule, there is no provision in any law that requires the most senior officer to be chosen. Seniority and meritocracy are not the same thing. Seniority and excellence in performance are not the same thing. There are many old lawyers, for example, but they're not senior counsel. Senior counsel is based upon distinction. Seniority is simply a question of age. So the PNC is free to proceed and file the legal proceedings. We would have a very interesting day in court. It is the same bluff that they have made in relation to the National Natural Resource Fund bill. That bill was passed by the National Assembly in December of 2021. It was assented to by His Excellency the President on the 31st of December last year. Since then, a threat was issued by APNU AFC that they will challenge the legality of the passage of that bill in the National Assembly. Well, January has gone, February has gone, we are in the ending days of March, 3 months, and no such action has been filed. I have no doubt that the lawyers are telling the politicians, stop saying that we are going to file actions, because these actions are not going to succeed. The contention in relation to that bill was that we were not seated when the vote was taken. Firstly, I don't know how they will establish that we were not seated and how many persons were seated. I know that I was seated when the vote was taken. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I don't know that a count was taken of the votes cast. Thirdly, I don't know that anyone voted against the bill. So one vote possibly could have carried the bill because there is no vote against it. So these threats that seem to be coming from the opposition on a constant basis are without merit and are clearly empty because there are no consequential actions to follow them up. And which is a good thing because the threats are nonsensical. I note also that APNU and AFC seem to have different positions on the Hikin appointment because I saw Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan, leader of the AFC, saying in the press, well, I didn't see him criticize the appointment. I believe he spoke commendably of Mr. Hicken. I didn't, and I believe he conceded that the choice is that of the president. And the president has exercised that choice. I can't recall reading, or I can't recall getting the impression, reading what he said, that he found the president exercise of that choice or power to be an objectionable one. In fact, I believe he wished Hicken well. So, again, you have some type of division in the opposition camp, but I suppose that that is good as well. You have opposition parties in a coalition who are taking different views. When they were in government, I know that the AFC could dare not had expressed a different view. I know Ramjatan was like a mouse for 5 years. Nagamotu became dumb. He only spoke when it was time to cuss down the PPP. Ramjatan, his ministry was stripped of a tremendous amount of power. And when Silal Prasad, he was instructed by the president to send Mr. Silal Prasad on leave. And I wrote profusely on the unconstitutionality of that action. Silal Prasad, the commissioner of police, enjoys security of tenure. Neither the president nor the Home Affairs Minister can send the commissioner of police on leave in such a whimsical fashion. There is a process by which a commissioner of police is to depart from office other than by resignation or retirement. None of those were followed when Silal Prasad was removed, nor when Ram Narayan was removed. So these people can't speak about propriety in relation to appointment and removal from office in relation to the Commissioner of Police, or for any public office for that matter. And I don't wish to use up valuable time on the program to list the number of violations of the Constitution that they committed during their 5 years in office. That is well documented, and I have repeated them over and over again. I don't think we should, have that kind of recitation. So I pause there to see what is going on the feed. Vinod Chandrapal, James Balram, Debbie Prasad, Puran Singh is watching. As I said, I would like to have your comments so that we can have an interactive session. Shanti Dukram is asking a very important question. Where is Moses? I don't know. I haven't seen him since. I honestly have not seen him since. And I don't know of anyone who have seen him since. Why is it so hard to get an opposition leader? Devinarayan Jaipal asks. I don't know, Mr. Jaipal. You have to direct that question to Congress Place. Now, as far as I am aware, they have not even completed the process of replacing the former education minister, what's her name, Nicolette Henry, and Joseph Harmon. I don't think the process of replacing them have been completed. They have resigned. The process requires the head of the list or the leader of the list, in this case Mr. David Granger, to write to the chief elections officer and to instruct the chief election officer to extract from the list of candidates for the PNC or APNU, AFC as the case is here, 2 names, and those are the names that the chief elections officer must then communicate to the clerk of the National Assembly. I don't think that process has begun or certainly has not been completed. Let me repeat again. The leader of the list of APNU AFC, Mr. David Granger, is first required to write to the chief elections officer to say that these 2 persons have resigned and append their resignation letter and request of the chief elections officer to extract 2 names that the leader of the list must indicate who those names are, and it is the chief elections officer who then writes the parliament and say, put these 2 names in instead of Nicolette Henry and Joseph Harmon. I don't think that process has been completed. So we may be very far away from getting a leader of the opposition. Because the leader of the opposition, as you may know, is elected by the opposition in the National Assembly. It is when the opposition sits, they elect a leader from among themselves. But you don't have right now the full complement of the opposition, because you have Nicolette Henry resigning, and then you have Joseph Harmon indicating an intention to resign. I don't even know whether that intention has crystallized into an actual resignation, because I recall the press saying, quoting from his letter, that he intends to resign with effect from so-and-so date. An intention to do something is not doing the something. If I have an intention to go to school, it doesn't mean that I have gone to school or I am going to school. I simply have formed the mental element to do something. So as far as Harmon is a lawyer, he must know the difference between an intention to resign and an actual resignation. So I am not even sure that Mr. Harmon has corrected or has moved from a position of having an intention to resign to the actuality of resigning. I am not sure. I hope that the press can shed some light on this. Someone can call the parliament and inquire. But that is where we are. Somebody telling me that we are running out of time. I should extend the program. Somebody is saying that the chief parliamentary secretary would confirm the proposed potential name. No, we don't have anything called chief parliamentary secretary in our constitutional structure, sir. I am dealing with what the law says. Parliament is constituted by virtue of the Constitution and the laws, the relevant laws. So I think I've dealt enough with that. This weekend, Friday, the judiciary and the executive will partner this Friday in a ceremony to open a magistrates court, a brand new magistrates court at Kakwani on the Berbice River. I have been invited to offer remarks as a guest speaker, and I will be there. So another brand new magistrates court will be opened at Kakwani on the Berbice River, region number 10. I'll be there on Friday. I intend to spend the entire Friday there. I intend to spend Friday night at Kakwani and Saturday, and to do some community work, do some work in the community. So those of you who are looking at the program from the Kakwani area, please note that I will be in your neck of the woods on Friday and Saturday, and I hope to meet as many of you as possible. Persons have already begun to call, so I'll be there to meet with the communities. I will try to meet as many communities as possible. So please spread the word around. Friday and Saturday, I will be at Kakwani Region 10 Friday to participate along with the Chancellor and the Chief Justice, participate in the opening of a brand new magistrates court in Region 10, Kakwani, Berbice River. I want to spend some time in giving you also an update on where we are with a number of important bills. So the hemp bill is in its first draft. So a lot of people, a lot of persons, a lot of organizations, both in and out of Guyana, are interested and have demonstrated a deep and keen interest in the hemp legislation. Well, the bill is in first draft and is being considered by the government, and the government will determine what the next steps are. I believe it's a good bill. We looked at various territories in the Caribbean and North America and even Europe. In the Caribbean, there is not much to look at. I think Antigua and Barbuda is the only territory with a draft bill. The others permit the cultivation of hemp through amendments, minor amendments to their dangerous drugs law or their narcotics law. That is how they allow for the cultivation and production of hemp. We are going in a far more advanced and sophisticated stage. We are creating an entire bill that will have an entire governance structure and will also prescribe the relevant technical levels that will determine legality for hemp and will also regulate the way hemp will be cultivated, the areas that hemp will be cultivated at, and how one would qualify to cultivate, or qualify to cultivate. It's a work in progress, but it will be one of the most advanced pieces of legislation of its type and should be in Parliament very shortly. The condominium bill is ready and should be laid in Parliament at the next sitting. The condominium bill is a very important piece of legislation as well. It brings a new vista to our housing sector. Many of the companies or many of the investors who have expressed an interest in Guyana have expressed an interest in the establishment of condominiums. Currently, we have a condominium act. That act will be repealed. It's completely outmoded, completely inefficient, completely, and it's defective because it only relates to land held by transport. And that is a serious deficiency. And that is why under the previous administration, they tried to, to build condominiums without even looking at the law. And what they found out after they built the condominiums, they couldn't give title to anybody because the law did not permit condominiums to be built on title land and for the owners of those condominiums to get a certificate of title. So what they offered those people as condominiums, those people ended up being tenants. They end up renting the place to the people because they could not have passed titles to them. We, of course, are far more competent, needless to say, and we are doing the things in the right way. So we pass the law first, and then we will move towards the establishment of the condominium. The much talked about mental health bill will soon be ready. That will also be going to the National Assembly, and you will hear more about that as well. And that will be going very shortly. Upon instructions of the President, we will have law reform in relation to drinking and driving. I indicated in a previous program that we cannot continue the way that we are currently proceeding. We have too many avoidable deaths on the roads. We have too many reckless driving. We have too many negligent driving and road users. We have too many persons drinking and driving under the influence. Driving under the influence. New laws will come. More stringent penalties will come. The laws in relation to breathalyzer will be strengthened. Driver's license will be suspended from driver's license of errant drivers under the influence of alcohol will be suspended even before conviction, and upon conviction possibly revoked. At least those powers will be resided with either the Director of Public Prosecutions or the Commissioner of Police or the magistrate, as the case may be. We have the important bail bill. I have spoken a lot about this bail bill. It is a very important piece of legislation. It has attracted a lot of discussion and consultation. Currently, it is with the judiciary as well as the legal profession for their final inputs. It has gone through, I believe, 3 iterations, or rather this is the 3rd iteration, and we hope that it will be ready. Again, I am doing a case, and we have to make these things public, where a magistrate has granted bail for an offense, for the offense of murder, when the Criminal Law Procedure Act says very clearly that a person charged with the offense of murder cannot be admitted to bail by a magistrate. And this is the same magistrate who granted bail to 2 persons who flew an airplane into this country loaded with cocaine from Brazil. They were foreign nationals. They had no passports. They entered the country illegally. They entered with a plane full of cocaine. They were charged and are before the court, and they were granted bail. When the Narcotics Act say very clearly, the Narcotics Act says very clearly that one must show special reason before bail is granted. These persons have no special reason. They did not show any reason. And this particular magistrate granted bail. I challenged it in the High Court, and I got the decision of the magistrate reversed. And the two persons were kept in the prison. They are still in the prison. This very magistrate, in the face of the express language of the Criminal Law Procedure Act, that says that no bail shall be granted by a magistrate to a person charged with murder, grants bail. So something is wrong. The bail bill, hopefully, will address those matters. But as soon as, anyhow, let me stop there. And the arbitration bill. You would have heard me speak a lot about the arbitration bill. We have a model arbitration bill. This is one that is generated by CARICOM. It was drafted by Impact Justice out of Cave Hill campus, Barbados, University of the West Indies. It's the most modern expression of arbitration law in the Caribbean. It embraces all the international standards. As I said, it's new, and we have to undergo a period of education and public awareness. That process has already begun. Currently, we are advertising the Ministry of Legal Affairs in collaboration with the Impact Justice Program. We have advertised a training course on how to draft arbitration clauses in a contract. That is stage one of the training. That will take place during the month of April. Then in May, we have a larger training program that would involve state lawyers, government officers, private sector, the legal profession at the private bar, and the judiciary. Each of these groupings will be trained separately in a series of seminars that will be hosted again by the Ministry of Legal Affairs and the Impact Justice Project. And then there is another training session that will follow. But this one will have to be paid for, because at the end of this one, you will get a certificate and you can become a member of the Caribbean Institute of Arbitration. And these programs are being run and the persons who will be lecturing are renowned, respected, and acclaimed academics and practitioners in the field of arbitration. So I am hoping that we get solid support across the board. As I said, the arbitration bill will take some time before we get before we are acclimatized, and we don't wish to rush it because it's a very important piece of legislation, and it is imperative that we have this type of platform in the new commercial trajectory of our country. As I've said repeatedly, large companies prefer to settle their disputes by using mechanisms and institutions such as the arbitral process, as opposed to contested court proceedings. They prefer this method of resolving their disputes. And we want to make this platform available in Guyana. And we need, therefore, to create the resource personnel that will man this machinery, or else we will have to import persons. We may still have to import persons at the beginning, but at least we have to begin to empower our people with the education necessary to be part of this process. And that is what we are doing with the series of training sessions that will precede the arbitration bill. So let me pause again to see, I see Wizi Parbu is watching. Hi Wizi. Amita Ramphal is watching. Michael Sukhdeo is watching. Rajin Datadin is watching. Raghubir, I don't understand what is taking so long. Justice delayed and justice denied. What are you talking about? You want to hear about Mingo and Lowenfield? Well, okay, let me talk a little about Mingo and Lowenfield. The cases for Mingo and Lowenfield are still pending in the magistrates' court. The legal process, as I have always said, is a slow one, no matter which part of the world you go. And Mingo and Lowenfield's lawyers will do everything within their power to slow down the process. The process is already a slow one, and it is not, I suppose, in their interest to accelerate the process. But justice cannot be rushed. The justice system operates at a particular pace, and that is where it is. Government and politicians cannot interfere with the legal process. Special prosecutors have been retained, and I know that the trial has not begun, but a process is ongoing that is called discovery, where the prosecutors are handing over to the defense the type of materials and the type of evidence that they will be relying upon in order to prove their case. That is a process within the legal processes that are ongoing before the courts. So I ask persons to have patience and wait until the system determines the case. The traffic situation is overwhelming. We sure need help. Yes, the traffic situation is indeed overwhelming. If you see the number of cars that are being imported, and that's why we are expanding on the number of roadways in the country, as well as we are expanding the size of existing roadways. That is what development brings. Development brings with it a certain degree of, I suppose, inconvenience. But we have to wait it through. Every country going through this developmental phase would have had to gone through what we are going through. So I ask for patience. Um, what happened to Jordan? James Bond matter, that matter is still ongoing in the court. Again, that is one of the cases that are pending. We have to follow, you have to pay attention. These cases are being reported in the newspapers. So please follow them closely and you will know what is taking place. This is where I have to say good evening and goodbye. My operators are signaling to me that we have approached program time. I think that we have dealt with a number of important issues. Next week I'll be here. I'm not traveling. So I invite you next week to join us and we will have another healthy discussions on the topical issues taking place in Guyana. Once again, enjoy the rest of this week and I will see you next week. Take care and be healthy, be safe, and be happy. Thank you and good evening.